Welcome back to the Oshner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute podcast studio up here on Veterans Memorial Boulevard, right next door to my guy, Matt Bauer's state-of-the-art Ford dealership. Check him out there or at one of his many locations throughout the region. This is another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. And we were about halfway through the show, and they hired
You don't
Brandon
have to tell
Staley.
people that.
Yeah, no, we do. It's all right. We're starting over. Get a piece some of the stuff we did in. So if there's a hard cut somewhere, that's why. So yeah, they got Brandon Staley as their defensive coordinator. Kind of ends a process here. I think this played out a little bit differently than expected. We kind of thought it was going to be like Brandon Staley's the DC, Nussmeier's the OC, and it's very deliberate, and they're going into it. Kind of took a little bit to get to him, and we were actually hearing today about the process being a little bit fuller than we initially thought. We had heard 2 interviews plus Staley. Kind of felt like, okay, well, Staley's the guy. They were actually kind of considering some other people and ran a full process here. Robert Livingston was kind of one of the strongest names that we heard come up, the Colorado DC, but ultimately they decided to settle on Brandon Staley, the former Chargers head coach.
You just said settle on. Is that how you feel?
Hire, whatever. Like
I know, but like settle on has a negative connotation.
I don't think so. I think it's just this is where the process settled. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I mean, but no, I'm not. You know, I'm open-minded to him. I think he's a smart person. I know Twitter feels how they feel. You know, I don't think it's that drastic. I think we're going to see. I think there's reasons to be optimistic, reasons to kind of say, well, I don't know. Let's see how this kind of looks. That's where I'm at with it. I'm kind of in a wait and see approach with it.
Yeah, no, I mean, and maybe they did quote unquote settle for him, but settle for him in the sense that they had him and you know, might have been on staff in some capacity anyway. Like they wanted him here. They just maybe also wanted to, you know, try to bring in more than one person or something like that, or saw a chance to get the best of both worlds. But he was always the most expected candidate, always a strong candidate, and I think always a good candidate. I mean, I think history has shown us that not succeeding as a head coach and then going back to doing what you were great at has not really, you know, I mean, Steve Spagnuolo is obviously the model, but I think there's tons of those guys out there that maybe Dennis Allen will be that in Chicago. Vic Fangio, exactly, who is Brandon Staley's mentor. So I don't think some of his struggles as a head coach with the Chargers and kind of famously, some of his struggles were like, you know, maybe game management, timeouts, going for it on fourth, like the kind of things that now aren't completely in his purview anymore. Other than that, you got to love the resume. I mean, he is a Vic Fangio disciple, and man, if he's not running the best defense in the league right now, he ran the #1 defense in the league for the Rams before he got that head coaching job with the Chargers. And then after that job, he went and worked for the 49ers, which is just a staff just loaded with talent. And it's a great graduate school course. Clint Kubiak worked with him for a year, obviously, or not Clint Kubiak, Kellen Moore worked with him for a year, obviously liked him and wanted to work with him again. You know, and he's a young, smart guy and might be changing from a 4-3 to a 3-4, but obviously it's going to represent change and innovation. So there's not a lot I don't like about it, really.
Yeah, I think the thing that people get confused with the 3-4, 4-3, it's not the same. Like Vic Fangio's 3-4 isn't the same as Bill Belichick's 3-4. It isn't the same as you know, the Bears' old front. Like back then it was 2-gapping. Like, so you got your 3 guys there, and it's like if you got your nose tackle, he's taking the 2 gaps on both sides of the center. Like the Staley, Fangio, they do gap and a half. Like with the Saints right now with their 4-man front, it's 1 gap. Like you're just kind of going, I'm going to hit the gap between, you know, the guard and the tackle, and that's my gap, and I'm going at it. They do gap and a half where it's like I'm going here, but if there's nothing here, now my responsibility is like on the backside. So I'm going at this, but like I kind of have an eye over here. So the idea of it is that you're just kind of never able to get hit in an open spot. Whereas if you're single gapping, if you block it out, now you have a whole lane to go through. Like theoretically, you should always have backup somewhere coming from it. So it's not like the same idea of like I need 400-pound Vince Wilfork
so
in the
that's
middle
the
of my
important
line.
question, right?
Yeah.
How much do you, from what you've studied, and obviously you have a story up on NewOrleans.Football right now and have been studying Staley, because this doesn't come as a huge surprise that he's going to be a part of this staff.
I didn't lose faith until today. Like I was kind of like
But when you're like, all right, this guy doesn't fit what Staley likes to do, or they need someone to do this instead, like, is there anything that stands out personnel-wise right away? Like, man, this this is not a good fit for blank or anything. Is it,
Yeah,
you
they're
know?
like whole defensive line. Like I
Yeah.
think they need young players across the board. A
Well,
lot of those guys
yes.
don't. Yeah,
Yeah. True for any system. They
yeah,
needed an upgrade.
yeah.
But I mean, yes, the very, like, if you just very generally don't pay close attention, you're like, oh, they're changing to a 3-4. That means they need a Vince Wilfork and they need 240. They need Nolan Smith and they need, whatever. Like, do they or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. I mean, they went with like Bosa and Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack's kind of a little bit smaller, but Bosa's a
Yeah.
bigger guy. I mean, they had Aaron Donald playing,
Yeah.
Defensive tackle in LA.
So if they
like
get
the
it to Aaron
smallest.
Donald, they're good.
Yeah, but like you know what I mean. Like that. That's like the exact opposite of
Yeah,
what you kind of think
exactly.
when you're talking about a 3-man front. So yeah, I don't think it's all that. Look, the one thing I think about him, if you kind of look at his defense, like a lot of it, like so you got the gap and a half thing. So like the idea that I think is just that you always have an answer to everything and that you're just never left vulnerable. And then the coverage they play, it's kind of more pattern match concepts. So the idea behind that is like you're playing zone, but if you do something over here, it turns into man. So like all of it, it's very complex, and I think it puts a lot of pressure on the players to be in the right spots at the right time. If you're a DC, maybe you got everybody coached right. If you're a head coach, maybe it's a little bit harder to have all those details locked in.
Yes, fair, totally fair. And how different is what you see from him and Fangio? I mean, did he just take parts of Fangio's defense, or you see a lot of it in there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the DNA is kind of pretty much the same. I mean, there's some Saban stuff in there too, like the pattern match is a big Saban thing. But I think the principles of it are all like he's through and through a Fangio disciple.
I'll take it. I mean, is there a better system going in the NFL right now?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where you want to be. Look, and it's what he's coached against last two
Yep.
times. He was somewhere, seen it every single day. Kind of knows the stress that it can cause. The thing I would say about Staley is that at one point in his life, like he was kind of boy genius of the league.
Yeah.
And that kind of went away. And now it's, we'll see if he can revitalize it a little bit. But also very young. Was again one of the smartest people in the league, was around the right people, Fangio, Sean McVay. The head coach thing, like it didn't work. So I mean that's on him to kind of show that, okay, being mediocre on defense, like in LA with the Chargers, that's not who I was. Like it was all this other stuff. It was all the other stuff on my plate. It could be a thing like DA where you're a great DC, but just not a great head coach. And he just needs to show that. But I think it is fair to go into this being skeptical and saying, all right,
Sure.
I need to see it. Like, was he just great in LA because he had Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey and, all these other great players? Or was it him? There was only a 1-year track record before he became the Chargers head coach. And the overall of that is that it was just okay. Like, in the end, that's the thing that sunk DA too. I think it would surprise people to realize that Staley was a 500 head coach, but like his defense ranked in the middle of the league, and that was supposed to be his calling card. And in the end, it wasn't there. And with DA, he was about a 500 head coach with the Saints. And in the end, his defense wasn't there. Like you just got to show that you can bring it back. And, I think it is. Again, I think it's fair to be skeptical, but there's also things here that kind of, I'm excited to find out what he can do.
Well, and
He
it's
needs
not
players,
just
though.
it's not just DA and Staley. Matt Eberflus just got a job as a defensive coordinator this cycle. Robert Saleh just got a job as a defensive coordinator this cycle. I mean, I put him in that category. None of those guys are sure things, but Jeff Ulbrich just got after his interim head coach. Like these guys are good at being defensive coordinators. So I mean, it feels like a good hire for the circumstances. And I'm excited to see something different and new, but you're right. I mean, what needs to transform the Saints is the same thing that defense is the same thing that needs to transform the whole roster. They need to bring in young talent because they've got to replace the likes of Cam Jordan and Demario Davis and Marshawn Lattimore, who's already gone, and Tyrann Mathieu. Like, where's the next generation? Nobody's succeeding without the next generation.
And now they'll have their DC theoretically at the combine. They're heading up there. I doubt they'll have all the position coaches in place. I mean, we've heard how important those interviews are for a long time. A lot of younger coaches don't go to that now, but I think the Saints are a team that still values the combine highly. New coaching staff, so who knows how they really think about it. But I think you feel a little bit better about that. And again, I think it'll probably be a little bit of a process putting together the whole staff. I'd be surprised if it's done by Monday, but maybe it was one domino falls and now everybody gets into place. So yeah, the defense is set, and let's talk about this offense. This topic is presented by Shea Bear Insurance, the Earhart Agency. Seems like Kellen Moore kind of got everything he wanted on the offensive side of the ball. Got his OC, Doug Nussmeier's in the building. Interestingly enough, it took us a little while to hear about that one. I hear that he's actually been working in the building like all this week. So I don't know.
He wanted to test it out, do like a trial period. They said after 3 days, if you want the full-time job, you can.
So it was like if the temp got hired full time, I guess. I don't know what was going on there, but what are your overarching thoughts on the shape of the offensive staff?
I mean, the only one that like really jumped out at me was probably TJ Paganetti, because it felt like poaching from the Eagles staff a little bit, I guess. And you like to see like small wins from that. Like he had a job and you took him away from one.
Yeah.
But it's also a reminder that, man, there's so much turnover in the NFL that, like, even though he was the last one to put his staff together, it's like for every new coach that comes in, there's a coach that went out, and there are good coaches who, need to find their next job. I mean, look at Kellen Moore. He went from Dallas to the Chargers to the Eagles to the Saints, and we just saw Clint Kubiak go from the Vikings to the Broncos to the. I mean, these guys, just because you're putting together your staff in mid-February doesn't mean you don't have a ton. I mean, everyone on this list looks extremely qualified for these jobs. I mean, it's great to have Joel Thomas back. I think the players really liked him, and he's been rising in New York. I was surprised they let him go, but I know his heart is still close to New Orleans. Chase has obviously the same case. And then with Haslett, with Tolzien, with Paganetti, and with Nussmeier, it's people he's worked with, and with Nugent, he's people he's worked with. So, I mean, it doesn't feel like there are any sacrifices on this list at all.
No, it feels like a strong staff. And if you're going to kind of emulate someone, I'd rather you're emulating the Eagles than the Raiders. Like, like there were way too many Eagle or Raiders ties before to have some Eagles guys in here. And then obviously they got the strength and conditioning coach that used to work with the Eagles. That's kind of a weird situation a little bit. He got fired last year on June 6th, after winning the special teams, the strength and conditioning coach award. Then he gets let go, which was, I don't know, a little bit curious there, but somebody that obviously has a really high reputation. I think it's good to move on from Matt Ray at this point. That didn't feel like it really worked.
It was pretty clear they were going
to
to make a change there.
Yeah, they had to. So, yeah, solid staff here. Some familiar
Nussmeier
guys.
is fascinating. I mean, we've talked about Nussmeier a lot, but and I talked to Moore and Nussmeier about it. It's just such a fascinating pairing. I mean, they both have Idaho ties. Is that right? Nussmeier made a joke about he went to that other school, and because Nussmeier's
Saints
Idaho.
drafted him in '94.
Yeah, Nussmeier's Idaho and Moore is Boise State or whatever. But it's just such an interesting pairing, because obviously there's about a whole generational divide between the two. They hadn't worked together before Nussmeier got hired onto the staff the same year that Moore was transitioning from quarterback. But they obviously just really clicked, because after a couple years of that, Kellen Moore's bringing him everywhere he goes from that point. And yeah, absolutely, it was very similar to how Kubiak came in here with Rick Dennison as his veteran kind of you've made this point a number of times. You like to see guys who are like, no, I work with this guy, I work best with this guy. We've got our roles down. He, it's Sean Payton and Pete Carmichael or whatever, immediately wants him back in Denver. But it's just fascinating how those two hit it off. I mean, at the time, Kellen Moore is probably about a 30-year-old, and, and the two of them have just been really symbiotic. That was the one we predicted from the start. And obviously that shows that Kellen Moore got his way. So.
Joel Thomas also went to Idaho, so another one from there too. Yeah, another one in that area. And then just kind of, in that tie-in, it seems like Paganetti is tied into that now too. He worked with them in Philadelphia last year. He was the assistant run game guy, assistant offensive line coach. Their O-line coach has been there for 20 years.
And maybe the best in the business. So I love that hire.
Yeah, he led the run game there. So, yeah, I mean, this is a chance for Paganetti to get out. And then, obviously, we know that Kellen Moore is really good at the pass game, leaned into calling a lot of run game stuff, but having a guy that kind of specializes in that and can kind of tie in, I think, is a win for that staff. So we'll see overall. I know Zach Strief loved working with Nugent. That's kind of a good. I mean, obviously he was here forever, but that's a good endorsement. Joel Thomas, Alvin Kamara likes him a lot, so that's that's a good fit there. Keith Williams, the wide receivers like him. So, yeah, we'll see. They still need maybe a I don't know if any of these guys are mean on that side of the ball. They kind of need a
Yeah, that
mean
was
guy.
one of the Martin's questions of the day, but we knew this was going to be the lead segment. Is there an enforcer? Doug Nussmeier doesn't feel like an enforcer.
No.
Maybe he is, though. Maybe that's the beauty of him.
I was watching a video. Ted Rath looks like he could just beat up everybody on the team.
He was the get-back coach,
yeah.
the famous
What a
get-back
weird
coach.
job, right? Like, I wouldn't want to be known for being the person that, like, grabs the coach around the waist to, like, pulls him back. Like, he obviously did so much more. That's almost, like, belittling to, like, what he had. Like, he's in there getting everybody in shape, keeping them healthy, but he's known for pulling Sean McVay away from the officials.
He was the most famous sideline presence until Big Dom, right?
Yeah.
In Philly.
How can you tell your players, like, not to jump offside if you can't stay on side on the sideline? Like, all you got to do is just not step on the field, and you're in good shape.
One devil's advocate question here. We talked about this a little bit last week, I know, and then they added Joel Thomas to this mix. I mean, we've said, you've said, certainly a lot of fans have said, cut all ties, cut all ties. Is there anything negative about Nugent, Thomas, and Williams being previous Saints assistants and Chase Hazlitt being son of former Saints head coach? Is there too much Saints DNA on this staff, or is it okay?
Well, I feel like Nugent and Thomas really weren't like DA type guys. Like, so you're tying into the right era if you're going you're going back there. Like, they fired Joel Thomas. Did they fire Nugent, or did Nugent? I think Nugent got let go.
Feel like Nugent got let go, but I don't want. I'd have to double check that to make sure. So I don't want to say that, but that was sort of my recollection.
And then Keith Williams kind of felt like a bolt-on to the Kubiak staff. So no, I mean, like, really just at the top, I didn't want to see, like, the head coach be someone that, you know, had worked with everybody before. Like, when that was kind of on our wish list of things, it was kind of more at the top. Like, bringing in an assistant, there's only so many of them around. People work different places.
And it doesn't mean they're going to run the Peyton Lombardi Carmichael offense. Like, even if they have history in that offense, it doesn't mean that's what they're going to run.
No disrespect to Brendan Nugent or Joel Thomas, but if they're shaping the DNA of this team, something is, like, really, like, they should not be influencing what they look like and all that stuff. Like, on a macro level, like, maybe micro, but yeah, I'm not too worried about that overall. Ochsner Hospital for Orthopedics and Sports Medicine on Clearview Parkway is celebrating 5 years of exceptional achievements. The hospital's integrated team has successfully performed over 20,000 surgeries using the latest in cutting-edge technology. With nationally recognized services and impactful partnerships, they continue to lead the advancement of orthopedic and sports medicine care in our region.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodaux, Homa, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hard Hide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com. Welcome back to the NewOrleans.Football show presented by PJ's Coffee. Our next segment is presented by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. The NFL informed teams this week heading into the combine that they should plan for the salary cap to raise by at least $22 million, if not more. Hugely beneficial for a team like the Saints that were like 50-some million over the cap. Now they're about 47-ish. Which is a huge help, opens up the window of possibilities. If you want to cut some players and eat some money, you got a little more room to do that. If you want to try to rebuild, you got a little more room to do that. Every dollar counts here. Getting like another 8-9 million back on whatever the previous estimate was. That feels like a free space a little bit for a team in this situation. What do you think?
It's nothing but good news. I mean, this doesn't help anyone more than it helps the Saints. Now, take that back. It helps players, first of all. I mean, salaries are about to be insane. I think we've already seen that growth. You know, like, oh, Robert Hunt, the guard from the Dolphins, he'd be good for the Saints, and then he gets like a 5-year, $100 million deal. Jonathan Greener to be good for the Saints. He's $20+ million a year. So that, you know, everything is going to go up. But for a team trying to like, can we ever claw our way out of this? They're going to do it. I mean, you and I have been doing this, playing with the over-the-cap calculator, but I went through and I keep my own spreadsheets on this stuff, double-check, triple-check. I'm like, can this be right? Like I have them, like, seriously, and I added in everything, draft class, Olave's 5th-year bonus. I have them, you know, even if they keep Derek Carr, if they cut him next year, I have them $30 million under the cap next year. If they cut him this year, I have them $70 million under the cap next year. Now, obviously, you go and sign 5 free agents, that $70 million turns into it.
Yeah.
But I'm like they're damn near out of it already, and it's going up by 22 this year. Let's say it goes up by another 15 or 20 next year. Like the one thing that I have said in our cap conversations over the last couple of years that not enough people are paying attention to is, they're not paying anybody anymore. They don't have any more Michael Thomases and Marshawn Lattimore's and Ryan Ramczyks and Tron Armsteads and Cam Jordans, you know, that are getting $100 million contracts. And so you just have to wait a couple of years, and it's like the books are pretty clean until they sign their next $100 million guy and their next $100 million guy. So, I mean, the cap going up like this and the cap continuing to go up like this, and then there'll be 18 games on the schedule soon, and it'll go up again. Like, they're going to get out of it. Now, they don't have players.
Yeah.
So they still have to draft to take advantage. It was way better to be in cap hell and to have Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara and Cam Jordan and Demario Davis and Ryan Ramczyk and Tron Armstead.
You were the Eagles then.
But you know, and it opens both doors. We've talked about, you know, man, if you keep Carr, it becomes a lot harder to get out. Well, now it's a lot easier. Keep Carr for one more year, you can still get out of this. Or now, if you did decide to cut Carr now, maybe you could carve out $10 million in cap space and sign a couple of free agents so you're not totally dead. I think this paves the way for both of those options to be even more realistic.
Yeah, no, they're definitely heading to greener pastures, sort of. It kind of really depends on this year. Can you maintain the discipline that we've seen the last couple of years of just kind of, if you're going to sign people, sign them to 1 years, don't sign them to multi-year deals, try to get smaller contracts so that you can have that fresh start. It'll be interesting to see if they can maintain that with a new coach, because there would be incentive to kind of go all in. The last time they had a new coach, they made the trade before the draft.
For Carr.
Well, no. They did the trade up in the draft before the draft. Before there was even a board. Yeah, it was just like, we're going to move up our assets. And that was kind of like, oh, we're going to help Dennis Allen out. We're going to get him started on the right track. We're going to get him 2 first-round picks, and it's going to be, you know, off and running, and you got your core started now, fresh starts right now. I hope they don't go into this offseason with that kind of viewpoint. You're kind of a year away from being in your fresh start. Like, start over then. Don't try to wedge it in. I'd really like to see that kind of discipline, you know, going forward. But you're right. They haven't really taken out any, like, payday loans in a while. Derek Carr was the last one. Yeah.
And that is the thing that they'll probably never stop doing. So this article is going to be up soon on NewOrleans.Football. And I did all these numbers as if they didn't sign any new free agents. I added every cost we know about. Draft class, Olave's 5th-year option, carryover cap from the $50 million in restructures they're about to do, all of that. But I did not add a single free agent. I didn't re-sign Paulson Adebo. I didn't re-sign Juwan Johnson. I didn't sign a new free agent. And that's where it all goes away. Like 2 or 3 years ago, we probably could have had the same conversation. Hey, they're almost out of it. And when they were almost out of it, they went and signed Derek Carr.
All right, we're heading up to the Combine on Monday. We're going to see kind of what's going on with the Saints. We'll talk to Kellen Moore there. We talk to Mickey Loomis there usually. We'll hear all that stuff. But this is a time for the 40-yard dashes. And we had a lot of talk about the 40-yard dash here. I feel like Brandon has given up on his training for a while. He was training. He was like sending videos of himself like rolling tires.
What do you
in
mean
his
by a while?
backyard.
Twice? Does twice count as a while?
He was working on it. He was running like dry runs, and I have not gotten an update on Brandon's 40 progress in a very, very long time. Brandon, where's it at?
All right, so had to take a little time off.
What happened is
No. Had to take a little time off. That knee was acting up. Then it snowed. Then it
No, that was 3 days.
Then it snowed.
Sure.
So that took me all the way out of commission. But then I remembered I had a cheat code. I live in St. Charles Parish. I have the levy. If I get on the levy for like a solid 2 months, I'm good.
Can't believe you brought
so.
the
You're
parish
gonna
into this.
loaf. So your plan is you're gonna loaf for 10 months.
No.
and you're gonna train for 2?
No. This starts when that stops with all this code nonsense. I never operated in that. I never had to operate in that foolishness. This stops with that. Once it stops being cold, I'm back in action. After Mardi Gras, I'm back in action.
All right. Well, I mean,
I can
we're
give you
gonna
a
see.
taste.
Well, we seen Mike ran a 40. Do we have Mike's 40?
We
Oh,
definitely
no.
have.
Do we have
Oh.
Mike's 40?
All right,
We
so
have Mike's
This
40.
was a setup.
the start.
This was a setup.
The start is the process. So Foster Moreau taught us about this, and that's the other excuse.
I mean,
you
look
have.
at
We were
how
gonna-
high. Look at how high you are
I
right
know,
out of the
and,
break.
And
This
I'm
is
already
horrible.
I'm already half a second behind both of my sons. Like I saw them and it felt like it was slow motion. I'm like, they're already 10 yards ahead of me is what it felt like. And I just couldn't get going. So the start is the key. If I work with a coach, I'm going to work on the start. But I will tell you, I did not, this is at the Super Bowl experience, I did not beat 6 seconds.
Have your parents already seen this video?
No, I don't know if we sent it
I
to
don't.
them
I
or
don't. Want, they're in the room right now. I don't want to put shame on the triplet family by playing this.
All right. So I will, but here's the thing. I have never claimed, I always looked at what Rich Eisen ran, and he's like 5'9", 6", I think, something like that.
Hard, yeah.
And so I assume that if I, first of all, I need some practice. And what I learned when I ran the 40 there is I had no idea how to start. I just had no idea. Like it took me 3 seconds to leave the gate. And I think my time was like 6.2 or so. I don't even know what it was. So I think if I practiced a couple times, like the Will Lutz kick that we did that one time, like I need another couple of tries at it. I think I could get down to like 5'8", 5'7", who knows? But Brandon was claiming he could get down into the 4 9s, which is an absolute
Something I've
no
already done
chance,
before,
no
man.
way, no how. I'm looking. John Ridgway ran a 5.3. I was trying to look for who might be the slowest
Well,
on the
let's
Saints. It
run
wasn't
the
him.
video of your 40.
Brian Brzee was slower than John Ridgway. That kind of surprises me. Cesar Ruiz was a 5.08. But what's the question? Can Brandon beat anyone at the combine?
No, I don't think so. Today? No.
Oh,
Can
ye
you
of
do
You
little
haven't hit
faith.
the levy yet.
Could
You
you
haven't
do
even hit the
5'8"?
Oh,
levy.
ye of little faith.
You haven't trained in 3 months. Well, let's play this through. Let's watch Mike's
Oh,
40
we have
here.
video. I thought it was
we
just a
have
still
video.
picture.
I just wanted to
Damn.
set the
We're
scene.
playing it.
Yeah,
and let-
Brzee
and let them know.
4.86. That's okay.
I mean, the thing is yeah, it's the start. You look okay after the start. Like the
I was
start,
way behind, and I could never
the
catch
start's
up.
horrible. I think the thing that benefits you too is the angle. I don't think we see,
See
how
how
bad
far behind I was at the beginning? Man. I did beat Finley at least.
Okay, do you get credit for that?
Play
She's
that
the
back
best
again.
athlete in the family.
Play that back again.
All right, hold on.
I didn't give you the rights to this video. I didn't sign anything.
I just I want to know about the end.
My
here.
wife Sarah recorded it. I wish she had gotten the
I want
start.
to know about the finish. Like you weren't moving so fast that you had to crash. You could have stopped.
No, it's fun to jump into the thing at the end. Although Will bit it. Will bit it, and he actually had to like go get Band-Aids from he really bit it at the end.
Oh,
Will's
look
the
at
one in the
Mike.
Max is my 13-year-old. He dominated us. Yeah, Will bit it right
He
there.
did, yeah, lost the shoe.
And then Finley got mad at me because they only had 3. What is this setup? They have 4 lanes but 3
You're
cushions.
right.
Finley
You're
had no
right.
cushion.
You're right.
All right. We'll work on that. The next time the Super Bowl comes to New Orleans, I'm going to be beaten. Well, here's the other important thing. I challenged Brandon because once I knew that I needed a better start, I wanted to do it a second time. I said, Brandon, let's go. Super Bowl. Oh, no, but
That's when the knee-
I
that's-
can't
that's when the
today.
knee
I
was cutting
gotta.
up.
What was your reason?
The knee was cutting up at that point.
The knee. How
Hey,
old are
man,
you?
I'm 24.
Okay.
Hey, man, we ain't got nothing but space, time, and opportunity.
Well, we're gonna get Foster Moreau training you for. I thought we were gonna do it during Combine Month. Clearly, that's not happening. Maybe next year. I was wrong. Brian Brzee is 4.8. John Ridgway 5.3. So Ridgway is the slowest one I've seen so far. 5.3. What was Zach Streif's 40 time?
I don't think any of us are beating any of them.
Zach Streif 5.38. So some of the bigger. I'm picking big guys who are probably not super fast. 6'7", whatever he was listed at. 5.38, 5.3. You think B could get there? 5.3?
Yeah.
Today?
In my diagnostic, I was like a 5'6". So I could knock 3 off.
All right, we'll see. We'll see.
Nick, you saw me race a kid
I did. But you were training.
and beat him.
You were training.
That's a kid, though.
I mean,
Look, excluding Mike's parents, anyone in here, line up and find out.
I want to race Brandon. When should we do it? Training camp?
we can line
Training
up. We can,
camp.
go, we can hit the parking lot right now.
He's got the knee and it's
Oh,
cold.
No,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
no.
he's
The
got
knee's
the-
good now. It's just a
Okay.
little crispy
All right.
outside.
All right, when we get back from the combine, we'll
All
hit
right.
it. We'll hit it.
All
Yeah.
right. You've
Yeah.
got a week to train while we're in Indy.
I'm ready, man.
hit the.
I'm gonna be in Indy in the snow like Rocky IV.
Sure.
Nick's gonna be holding my legs in the loft while I do those sit-ups.
Oh man! All right, that's enough of the hijinks. We got the Martin's question of the day right after this. Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. Martin's is your go-to destination for everything merry and bright this holiday season. From an unmatched selection of bourbon, whiskeys, and wines to gourmet food, gift baskets, and catering, Martin's has all your holiday needs covered. Family owned and operated since 1946, Martin's knows the perfect ways to celebrate this season with loved ones. Visit them in Metairie, New Orleans, or Baton Rouge, or shop online for the ultimate convenience. Whether you're raising a glass or looking for the perfect holiday gift, make it an easy and cheerful holiday with Martin's. Whether you are a local New Orleanian or a fan in town for the game, get your pre- and post-game fired up at Aaron Rose. Local chaos and local love for the black and gold. Wake up and live with daily drink specials, mimosas, screwdrivers, Bloody Marys, and hot or frozen Irish coffees, all just $3 or $4 between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Aaron Rose, half a block from Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, 811 Conti Street.
Welcome to the Queen Casino, where entertainment meets unparalleled customer service. From our days on the water to our new land experience overlooking the Mississippi River, our dedicated staff is here to ensure your visit is nothing short of exceptional. Whether you are coming or going, our well-lit parking lot and security team provide guests with red carpet treatment. Our security team keeps watch so you can focus on fun and fortune. From table to table, our attentive staff is here to serve up the ultimate experience. Join us at the Queen Casino. Your royal adventure awaits.
All right, welcome back to NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. It is now time for the Martin's questions of the day. 2 of them because it's Friday. Martin's is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrels like bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's, so much more than just wine. A lot of talk about Derek Carr. First question was, why wouldn't Derek Carr want to accept a trade to a better situation like the Steelers or the Jets?
Well, a couple things going on here. I think he probably would and should want to go to a situation like that. Teams trying to win now. And I defend Derek Carr all the time and say if Derek Carr was on the Steelers instead of Russell Wilson, I think we would have seen Derek Carr playing in a playoff game for the Steelers this year. I think that's the kind of quarterback he is. Give him a good coach, a good run game, a good defense, and I think he'll get you in the playoffs. I think you could replace Brock Purdy with Derek Carr and see the 49ers in the playoffs. I don't know about the Jets. I don't know where they are on their trail. But two different things here. One, those teams aren't offering the Saints a trade right now, so he's not turning down a trade to them. And two, a trade doesn't help the Saints it with the salary cap. If the Saints decided a trade is exactly the same as cutting a player for the cap purposes, and if the Saints decided to cut Derek Carr, I think they'd have to make him a June 1 cut to be able to afford it under the cap. If you trade a player, you can't make it a June 1 trade. So I really don't think a trade is even a possibility, whether Derek Carr wanted one or the Saints wanted one or not.
Yeah, I mean, look, we just seen him not be willing to do it before too. Maybe he would. Maybe if there's a way to, hey, you're going to make more money if you accept the trade, but it's not like I don't know. I think he'd want to get more guaranteed money, try to set it up again, choose his own fate. He just hasn't been someone that has been willing to help people out that are bailing on him, and I don't necessarily blame him for that.
Yeah,
but
why would he'd be like, so if you cut me, I can go to this team and they can keep all their draft picks.
Yeah.
But if you trade me, I go to this team and they've just lost a draft pick. That's why he with the Raiders and the Saints. Yeah, exactly.
And he's shown a willingness to wait out situations. And I just think it would probably be the same thing. So, yeah, I think he'd want to go to them places. I just don't think that he's going to help the Saints out by getting there. You can get there the same way, probably make the same money, and do it his own way. And that's just kind of how he's been. Another guy's name that has been coming up, Taysom Hill. What do you think his future is in 2025? He has a cap number of what, $10 million?
Well, $10 million is what
salary?
he's due in cash. Yeah,
so
his cap number's higher than that. But
I think the odds are that they want to keep him. I think you just have to lower that number significantly. If you categorize him as a running back, which I think he really is more now than anything, I think he has more value as a runner than as a tight end. He would be the fourth highest person net cash wise in the NFL at that position, behind Saquon and
at $10.25 million, or maybe his cap number would be fourth highest.
No,
there's
cash.
only 4 running backs
Cash.
making more than $10 million.
Cash.
Jeez.
Yes.
Well, maybe an average per year, but there's
cash. 2024 cash.
Right. Maybe but maybe a couple guys got super big signing bonuses or something like that. But still, that is $10 million is high for a running back. Like Joe Mixon didn't get $10 million when he signed with the Texans. So you're right. 10.25 is what it is now because he just got an escalator from last year for his 6 rushing touchdowns. I feel like Cam Jordan is definitely a pay cut candidate. He even admitted he kind of knows he has to be a pay cut. Taysom Hill's the only other one. Like, if he was in free agency, he wouldn't make 10 somewhere else. Yeah, pay cut candidate? You think Taysom Hill stays and cuts, do they have to add a year to it? Last year, both Demario Davis and Tyrann Mathieu agreed to pay cuts, but added a year to their salary in the process. I think Taysom would work with the Saints. He's always been happy here. If he wants to keep playing, he probably doesn't want to start over fresh, at this stage. That's a real tough one for me, but I bet Kellen Moore is intrigued by him because every offensive coach that has ever had a chance to work with him was intrigued by him. So, yeah, I bet they do work something out. I don't think it's automatic that he's gone.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey's taking home 16.2 in cash. Jonathan Taylor, 13 million. Saquon, 12.7, and then Taysom at 10. It's just kind of it's an insane number. You have to lower that. You can't pay him. You can't pay him that just because he's too old, coming off an injury. You can't pay him to try to stay healthy. So I think if he comes back, they got to try to do something. That's going to do it for today's show. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.